My name is Rachel, and if you had told me a year ago that my own sister would become my greatest enemy, I would have laughed in disbelief. Sisters are supposed to stand side by side, bound by blood and memory. But grief reveals truth, and betrayal cuts deepest when it comes from family. The day of my mother's funeral is burned into my mind, not just for the sorrow, but for the cruelty that followed. The church was filled with lilies, their scent heavy and cloying, a poor imitation of my mother's beloved lavender. The pews overflowed with relatives, neighbors, and friends who spoke kindly of her, but their words washed over me in a haze. I was numb. My world had cracked open and I felt like a child again, lost, untethered, desperate for her voice. But Liora, my older sister, walked through that day as though she were a queen presiding over a ball, not a daughter burying her mother. Her red heels clicked on the marble floor. Her makeup was flawless, her smile sharp. People whispered about her composure, her beauty, her poise. I watched her soak it in, every compliment feeding her pride. I tried to believe her coldness was her way of coping. Until later that evening, when we returned to our childhood home. The house still smelled of mother. Lavender sachets in the drawers, tea leaves in the kitchen, the faint trace of her perfume on the couch cushions. I wandered through the rooms like a ghost, fingers brushing over her belongings, each one a memory I wasn't ready to let go of. That was when I heard the sharp snap of a jewelry box opening. I found Liora in our mother's bedroom, standing before the vanity with her hand plunged into the velvet box. She didn't hesitate, didn't ask, didn't weep. She pulled out the diamond ring, our mother's most cherished possession. The stone caught the dim lamplight, scattering it across the walls like 1,000 stars. My breath caught. Liora, what are you doing? She slipped the ring onto her finger with deliberate grace, holding her hand out to admire it. What does it look like? I'm taking what's mine. I stepped forward, panic and anger twisting in my chest. No. She promised that ring to me. You know she did. I was with her. Liora's laugh cut me off, cruel and loud in the stillness. Promised? Rachel, she never promised you anything. You just told yourself that because you were the pitiful one, sitting by her bed every night, hoping she would notice you. But she didn't. She noticed me. She loved me more. She always did. Her words struck like slaps. I shook my head, whispering, "That's not true." She leaned closer, her perfume overwhelming, her voice a hiss. "You've always been jealous. Always second best. The ring fits me perfectly. It was meant for me, not you." I tried to grab the box, but she snapped it shut and tucked it under her arm. "Don't embarrass yourself, Rachel. Mother is gone, and so is your chance to matter." I stood frozen, grief colliding with rage, my fists trembling at my sides. Liora swept out of the room, her heels clicking like gunshots, the diamond flashing defiantly with each movement. Her laughter echoed down the hallway, sharp and merciless. When the house grew quiet again, I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the empty velvet indentation where the ring had rested for decades. Tears blurred my vision, but beneath the grief was something harder. Mother had told me, in her quiet voice during those long nights, that the ring was mine. Not because of its value but because of what it meant. Because I had been there when no one else was. Because I had stayed. That memory steadied me. I opened my journal, the one I hadn't touched in weeks, and wrote the words I needed to see in ink. She stole the ring. She stole Mother's memory. But she will not keep it. I pressed the pen harder with each stroke until the page nearly tore. Then I whispered into the silence, "This isn't over, Liora." Because 2 days later, at the will reading, the lawyer's eyes fixed on me as he said the words that froze Liora's smile. "The diamond ring goes to Rachel." The lawyer's office smelled faintly of leather and ink. Shelves of dusty books lined the walls, each one a silent witness to the arguments and decisions of families before ours. I sat stiff in the chair, my hands clasped so tightly my knuckles ached. Across from me, Liora lounged as though she owned the room, her crimson nails tapping on the armrest, her diamond-clad hand positioned just so the stone caught the light. Mr. Carver, our family's attorney, cleared his throat. "We will now proceed with the reading of Mrs. Hale's will." His voice was steady, professional, but my heart pounded with every word. He listed the small bequests first, jewelry pieces, books, photographs. Then he paused, looking over the rim of his glasses. And finally the diamond ring belonging to the Hale family line for 3 generations, is to be passed down to Rachel Hale. The room froze. My breath caught in relief and sorrow all at once. Mother's voice seemed to echo through the words, soft but firm. It's yours, Rachel. But then came the sound I dreaded, Leora's laugh. Low at first, then rising into a cruel ripple that filled the office. She leaned forward, her eyes glinting like knives. This is a mistake, she declared. Everyone knows Mother wanted me to have it. Rachel must have whispered in her ear when she was weak, when she didn't know what she was saying. Mr. Carver frowned. Mrs. Hale's wishes were signed, witnessed, and notarized. There is no ambiguity here. But Liora was already spinning her story. She placed her hand dramatically on her chest. You think this piece of paper means anything? I wore this ring last night, and it fit me perfectly. Mother always said I was the one who could carry her legacy. Rachel has no style, no presence. She would tarnish it. I stiffened. That's not true. You know she promised. She cut me off with a sharp wave of her hand. Promised? Rachel, she pitied you. Sitting at her bedside, clinging like a child, waiting for scraps of affection. Do you think that makes you worthy? It just made you pathetic. Her words stung like acid. My throat burned, but I forced myself to hold her gaze. Mr. Carver tried again. The will is legally binding. Rachel is the rightful heir. Liora stood suddenly, her heels clicking against the hardwood. She held up her hand so the diamond blazed under the light. Then let her try to take it. Let Rachel walk through town claiming a paper says it's hers, while everyone sees it shining on me. Who do you think they'll believe? The sister everyone admires, or the one everyone forgets? Her cruelty was deliberate, sharp as glass. She wanted me to shrink, to cower. But I sat still, my pulse hammering, my fists clenched against my lap. Inside, the grief twisted into something harder. Liora leaned close as she passed me on her way out. Her perfume was suffocating, her whisper venom. Come and get it from me, Rachel. I dare you. The door shut behind her, leaving silence heavy in the room. Mr. Carver sighed, rubbing his temples. She can challenge all she wants, but the law is clear. You are the heir. Still, you must be prepared. Possession complicates things. Until the court intervenes, she will use that ring like a weapon. I nodded numbly, my mind racing. Paper was one thing. Proof was another. And Liora would twist every detail until people doubted me. That night, I sat at my kitchen table, the will spread before me. I traced my name written there, my mother's final gift. But rage built in my chest. It wasn't enough to have the paper. I needed evidence strong enough to silence Liora forever. My phone buzzed. A new message. No name, just words. Meet me tomorrow. I know the truth about the ring. I stared at the glowing screen, my pulse racing. Someone else knew. And if they reached out to me, maybe Leora's theft wasn't as untouchable as she believed. The message glowed on my phone until dawn. Meet me tomorrow. I know the truth about the ring. I barely slept. My mind spun with possibilities. Who would reach out? A friend of my mother's? Someone who had seen Liora bragging? Or worse, was it a trap? Another humiliation waiting for me? But fear was no longer enough to stop me. If there was even a chance of proof, I had to take it. The address led me to a narrow antique shop on the edge of town. The bell above the door chimed softly as I stepped inside. The air smelled of cedar and old books, dust floating in the shafts of morning light. Behind the counter stood Mr. Whitmore, a wiry man with spectacles that magnified his watchful eyes. He looked at me for a long moment before speaking. Rachel Hale, he said gently. Your mother was one of my most loyal customers. Every spring she brought me that diamond ring for cleaning. She told me it was her most precious possession. My breath caught. You sent the message? He nodded, sliding a folder across the counter. Yesterday your sister came here. She tried to sell the ring. The words slammed into me. Sell it? Yes. She claimed it belonged to her. She wanted me to draw up an appraisal with her name. But when I asked about the engraving inside the band, she faltered. I blinked. Engraving? Mr. Whitmore leaned closer. Years ago, your mother had me etch 2 letters inside the gold. R.H. Your initials. She said she never wanted there to be doubt when the time came. The ring was always meant for you. Tears pricked my eyes. Proof. etched in metal undeniable. And Liora didn't know? He shook his head. She was furious when I refused to write her name on the appraisal slip. She stormed out, but not before I copied the paperwork she demanded. I opened the folder. Inside was the slip, her handwriting scrawled across it, insisting on her name. Fraudulent. False. A desperate grab at legitimacy. My throat tightened. Thank you. This means everything. He gave me a sad smile. Rachel, I've seen many families torn apart over jewels. But this is not about money. It's about memory. Don't let her erase yours. I promised him I wouldn't. That evening I spread the evidence across my kitchen table like a war map. The will naming me. The appraisal slip showing her fraud. The engraving tying the ring to me. I labeled each piece in my journal page after page. Mother's will. Ring left to Rachel Hale. Engraving initials are H. Inside the band. Appraisal slip. Liora's handwriting. Witness Whitmore's testimony. I was building not just a case but a shield. But Liora was already moving. That night a knock sounded at my door. When I opened it, she stood there dressed to perfection, the diamond flashing on her finger like a taunt. She smirked. Still chasing dreams, little sister? Mother gave it to me. Everyone knows it suits me better. I swallowed my fury. Funny. Mr. Whitmore didn't think so. He remembered the engraving. He remembered my initials. For the first time her smile cracked just a flicker of unease. But she recovered quickly, laughing coldly. So the old man told you. Do you really think anyone will believe a dusty jeweler over me? You've always been invisible, Rachel. No one will listen. I met her gaze steady now. They'll listen when they see proof. She shoved her hand toward me, the diamond glittering. Look at it. It shines brighter on me. It always will. Then she turned and swept down the steps, leaving the echo of her heels like thunder. I closed the door, my pulse racing. For the first time I felt the balance begin to shift. She had the ring, yes, but I had the truth. The next morning, an envelope slid under my door. Inside was a photograph. Liora at a cafe, handing the ring across a table to a man in a gray suit. Beneath it a note. She's hiding more than you think. I stared at the photo, dread and determination tangling in my chest. Liora wasn't just flaunting the ring. She was moving it, playing a game I didn't yet understand. And now someone wanted me to find out why. The photo of Liora at the cafe haunted me all night. Her smile was triumphant, the diamond flashing on her finger as she slid it toward the man in the gray suit. The note beneath the picture, she's hiding more than you think, felt like both a warning and a dare. I couldn't face this alone anymore. My sister had power, charm, and a lifetime of manipulating people to her side. If I stayed silent, she would spin the story until I was the jealous, grieving sister who couldn't let go. I needed allies. The first person I called was Mira, my oldest friend. She came over within the hour, still in her work clothes, her eyes flashing with anger when she saw the photo in the appraisal slip. That witch, she muttered. Rachel, she's trying to erase you. But she underestimated one thing: you have the truth. And I'll help you make sure people hear it. Her certainty steadied me. Together we made a plan. The next step was legal help. Mira introduced me to Daniel, a lawyer she trusted. His office smelled faintly of coffee and paper, his desk stacked with files. He listened quietly as I laid out the evidence. The will, the engraving, Whitmore's testimony, the photo, and Liora's attempt at fraud. When I finished, he leaned back, his expression calm but firm. You have a strong case. Legally, the will alone secures your claim. But perception matters. If she's flaunting the ring in public, people will start to believe her, no matter what the documents say. We need to gather everything, build a fortress of truth, and strike when the moment is right. His words gave me something I hadn't felt in weeks. Hope? That night Evelyn, our cousin, called me. Her voice shook. Rachel, I know what she did. The night after the funeral, she called me bragging. She said she grabbed the ring before anyone else could, that you'd never fight back. I didn't want to get involved, but I can't watch her do this to you anymore. Her confession tightened my chest, equal parts hurt and gratitude. Evelyn, would you be willing to say that out loud? Yes, she whispered. If it helps, yes. Piece by piece my allies assembled. Mira fierce and loyal. Daniel steady and strategic. Evelyn quiet but brave. And Mr. Whitmore, with his testimony about the engraving. We met in Daniel's office. The folder of evidence spread across the polished wood like pieces of a puzzle. The photo of Liora at the cafe lay in the center, its edges curling slightly under the lamplight. "Who is the man?" Daniel asked. I shook my head. "I don't know. But if she handed the ring to him, she might be trying to hide it. Or sell it." Mira crossed her arms. "Then we find him. If we prove she tried to pass the ring off, her credibility is gone. Everyone will see the truth." Evelyn nodded, her voice small but steady. "She's reckless when she thinks she's winning. That's when she'll slip." Daniel leaned forward, tapping the binder. "The key is timing. Don't confront her in private. Don't let her twist it into a sisterly squabble. We need to reveal this in public, in front of witnesses who can't ignore it. That way she can't rewrite the story." I looked down at the documents, the proof of my mother's wishes, of my sister's lies. For the first time I felt less like prey and more like someone holding a weapon. That night in my journal I wrote, "She has her allies in lies. I have mine in truth. When the moment comes I will not whisper. I will speak and everyone will hear." 2 days later, Mira burst into my kitchen, breathless and urgent. "Rachel, you need to see this. Liora just announced she'll be wearing the diamond ring at the town gala. In front of everyone." When Mira delivered the news, my chest tightened. The town gala was the largest event of the year. A parade of influence, money, and reputation. Everyone would be there. And Liora, true to her nature, had chosen it as her stage. She would walk in with the diamond flashing on her hand, and with every smile, every compliment, she would rewrite the story of our mother's legacy. But she hadn't counted on me having a plan. We gathered in Daniel's office that evening. The 4 of us sat around the long oak table. Mira fiery as ever, Evelyn pale but determined, Daniel calm and methodical, and me clutching the folder of evidence as if it were a lifeline. Daniel spoke first. "The gala is an opportunity. She'll be flaunting the ring in front of witnesses. That means we'll have the perfect moment to reveal the truth." Mira leaned forward, her eyes blazing. "We can't just wave papers around. We need to control the room. Rachel, you'll need to speak. Calm, steady, undeniable. Let her shriek and twist, but you stay composed. That's how you win." I swallowed hard. "I don't know if I can." Myra's hand gripped mine tightly. "You can. You've been quiet too long, Rachel. This is your moment to be heard." Daniel spread the documents across the table like a general arranging his battle plans. "Here's what we have. The will, Whitmore's testimony, the engraving with your initials, the fraudulent appraisal slip, and Evelyn's statement. Each piece alone is strong. Together, they're unbreakable." Evelyn's voice wavered. "She'll try to humiliate me if I speak. She always does." I turned to her. "She's not going to silence you this time. Not with me standing beside you." Daniel nodded. "Good. Now how do we introduce the evidence? We need a way to command the room." Mira smiled slyly. "Leave that to me. I know one of the organizers. I can arrange for Rachel to have the microphone. We'll time it so she speaks just after Liora makes her big show. That way, Rachel's words will strike while everyone is watching." The plan took shape over hours. Daniel prepared notarized copies of every document, sealed and stamped. Evelyn rehearsed her statement until her trembling eased. Mira coordinated the logistics, ensuring the lights, sound, and microphone would work in our favor. And I practiced my speech in front of them, my voice growing stronger each time. "Liora says the ring is hers," I repeated, staring at the notes. "But the truth is engraved into the gold. The truth is written in our mother's will. The truth cannot be erased by arrogance." Daniel adjusted his glasses, nodding. "Perfect. Short, sharp, impossible to twist. Remember, Rachel, don't argue. Present. State. Let the proof speak." As midnight neared, we packed up. The weight of the folder no longer felt crushing. It felt like a weapon I was ready to wield. Before leaving, Mira handed me a garment bag. "I had this altered for you. Wear it tomorrow. You're not going there as the weak sister anymore. You're going as the rightful heir." At home, I unzipped the bag to reveal a gown of deep sapphire blue. Elegant, strong, a color that seemed to burn under the lamplight. I touched the fabric, imagining walking into that hall not as Rachel the overlooked, but as Rachel who carried the truth. Later, as I packed the documents into a leather binder, my phone buzzed with another anonymous message. A photo of the gala stage under construction, chandeliers gleaming, tables draped in silk. Beneath it, the words, "She wants to humiliate you tomorrow. Are you ready to stop her?" I stared at the screen, my reflection faint in the glass, the question pressing into my bones. Tomorrow night, the stage would either crown her lies, or burn them down with the truth. The night of the gala arrived like a storm wrapped in silk. The air outside was crisp, the streets glowing with lanterns strung between lampposts. Cars lined the entrance of the grand hall, their headlights sweeping across the marble steps. Inside, chandeliers spilled golden light over velvet drapes and glittering gowns. Laughter and violins mingled, but beneath it all, I felt the current of tension twisting through me. Mira walked beside me, her arm linked with mine, whispering encouragement. "Head high, Rachel. You're not here as her shadow tonight. You're here to claim what's yours." I nodded, though my stomach churned. The sapphire gown Mira had chosen shimmered with each step, and I clutched the leather binder close against me. Inside it lay the will, the appraisal slip, sworn statements, proof that could silence 100 lies. Evelyn stood nervously by the refreshment table, her eyes scanning the crowd. Daniel, ever steady, had positioned himself near the stage, the extra copies of documents tucked into his briefcase. Every piece of the plan was in place. And then she arrived. Liora swept into the hall like a conquering queen. Her gown was crimson, clinging like fire. Her lips curved in a smile sharp enough to cut glass. And on her hand, lifted deliberately so the chandeliers caught it, the diamond ring blazed. The crowd shifted around her, voices rising in admiration. Compliments floated through the air. "Stunning. What a treasure. It must have been her mother's gift." Liora basked in it all, tilting her hand so the stone threw daggers of light. My throat tightened, but I forced myself to stay still. Daniel's warning echoed in my mind. Let her flaunt it. The higher she climbs, the harder she falls. At 8 o'clock, the announcer stepped forward, tapping the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Tonight we celebrate tradition, family, and legacy." But before he could continue, Liora strode onto the stage, her gown trailing like blood behind her. She plucked the microphone from his hands with practiced grace. "Friends," she began, her voice carrying effortlessly, "tonight is more than a gala. Tonight I honor our mother, who entrusted me with her most precious possession. This diamond ring, the symbol of our family's strength." Applause scattered through the hall. My pulse hammered. She was rewriting the story in real time. Myra's eyes met mine across the room now. I stepped forward, gripping the binder. My legs felt like lead, but I forced them toward the stage. The audience turned, whispers rising. But then chaos. From the front row, a figure rose, the man from the cafe, the one in the photo. He walked toward the stage with casual confidence, his voice loud enough to cut through the murmurs. "Are you going to tell them the truth, Liora?" he called. "Or just the part where you tried to sell that ring to me for cash?" Gasps rippled through the crowd. Leora's smile faltered. "What are you talking about?" she snapped, though her voice pitched too high. The man shrugged. "I was there. Mr. Whitmore was there too. You said you'd give me a deal if I didn't ask too many questions. Want me to share the price you offered?" Whispers turned into a low roar. Guests craned their necks. Cameras flashed. This wasn't part of our plan. I hadn't expected him to appear, let alone speak. My hand tightened on the binder, uncertainty clawing at me. Should I step forward now, or let him keep talking? Liora, pale beneath her makeup, clutched the microphone tighter. "This is ridiculous." She hired him. She jabbed a finger toward me, her voice rising. "Rachel put him up to this. She's desperate, jealous. She'll do anything to steal from me." The audience shifted uneasily, caught between scandal and spectacle. Some looked at me with sympathy, others with suspicion. The carefully laid plan teetered, seconds from collapse. And then, as if fate wanted to test me further, the lights flickered. Once, twice. Then the microphone cut out completely. The hall fell into sudden silence, the only sound the frantic pounding of my heart. All eyes swung toward me, standing halfway up the stairs to the stage, the binder in my arms. The spotlight had shifted. If I stayed silent, Leora's lies might take root. But if I stepped forward now, the entire hall would judge whether I was truth, or just another performance. The silence was suffocating. Dozens of eyes bore into me, their curiosity heavy, their whispers hushed. The microphone in Leora's grip was dead, but the spotlight burned on her, and now on me. Myra's voice cut through the quiet from the side of the stage. Rachel. Now. I inhaled, clutching the binder tighter, and stepped the rest of the way onto the stage. My heels clicked against the polished wood, echoing louder than I expected. My knees threatened to shake, but I anchored myself with one thought. This was my moment. I lifted my chin and spoke, my voice carrying without amplification. My sister claims this ring belongs to her. But the truth cannot be erased by lies. The truth is written, carved, and witnessed. The audience leaned closer. A ripple of anticipation spread. I opened the binder and held up the first page, the will. The gold seal gleamed under the chandeliers. Here is my mother's testament. Signed. Notarized. Witnessed. It names me, Rachel Hale, as the rightful heir to the diamond ring. Murmurs swept through the crowd. People craned their necks to see. Leora's face blanched, but she forced a laugh. Paper means nothing. She manipulated Mother when she was weak. I didn't flinch. I turned another page and held up the appraisal slip, Leora's handwriting sprawling across it. Here is proof she tried to sell the ring in her name. Fraud caught on paper. Gasps. Some shook their heads, others whispered her name with disbelief. Lies! She screamed, though no microphone carried her words. I steadied my voice stronger now. And if that isn't enough, the ring itself bears the truth. Inside the band are 2 letters. R. H. My initials. My mother had them engraved so there would be no confusion. At that moment, Mr. Whitmore stepped forward from the crowd, his voice ringing clear. I saw those initials with my own eyes. I cleaned that ring for her every spring for over 20 years. She told me it belonged to Rachel. The hall erupted. People gasped, murmured, some even clapped. But it wasn't finished. Evelyn pushed her way to the front, trembling but brave. Liora called me after the funeral. She bragged she took the ring before anyone else could. She said Rachel was too weak to fight her. But tonight, Rachel has proved she is anything but weak. The crowd roared louder. Cameras flashed like lightning. Leora's mask cracked. She clutched the ring, her hand trembling. For the first time, her smile faltered completely. You're all against me, she shrieked, her voice shrill. I looked at her steadily, the calm I'd rehearsed finally settling into me. No, Liora. They're not against you. They're just seeing the truth you tried to bury. The room erupted in applause. The sound shook the walls, a tidal wave of vindication. Red-faced and trembling, Liora ripped the ring from her finger and hurled it onto the stage. The diamond skittered across the wood, rolling to a stop at my feet. Fine, she spat, her voice cracking. Take it. But don't think this makes you better than me. You'll never be more than nothing. I bent slowly, picked up the ring and held it to the light. The engraving glinted faintly, undeniable proof carved into gold. I slipped it onto my hand, steady, deliberate, and raised my eyes to meet hers. Nothing, I said softly, though every ear in the room caught it. Just proved you wrong. The audience erupted into cheers, but Mira leaned close to me, her whisper cutting through the noise. Rachel, you won tonight. But look at her eyes. She's not finished. The applause thundered in my ears as I stood on that stage, the diamond ring now on my hand where it belonged. The spotlight felt different now, not blinding but clarifying. For the first time I wasn't a shadow. I was seen. Mira rushed forward and wrapped her arms around me. Rachel, you did it, she whispered fiercely. She can't erase you anymore. Evelyn joined us next, tears streaking her cheeks. I've never been so scared, but when you stood up there, I knew you were stronger than all her lies. Daniel approached, calm as ever, though even he allowed himself a small smile. The will, the testimony, the engraving, she's finished. Even if she tries to fight in court, she'll lose. Tonight was decisive. But across the hall, Liora stood surrounded by silence. A handful of her so-called admirers drifted away, their faces turned cold. Others confronted her in hushed but sharp tones. I could see the fury in her posture, the stiffness of her jaw, the way her fists clenched and unclenched. When her eyes met mine, I saw no shame, only rage. She mouthed the words across the crowd. "This isn't over." My victory suddenly felt fragile. Reporters swarmed, microphones and cameras flashing like lightning. Questions overlapped. "Rachel, how long did you know about the engraving? Did your sister really attempt to sell it? Will you take legal action against her?" Daniel raised a hand, his voice cutting clean through. "No questions tonight. Miss Hale has spoken with her proof. That is enough." He ushered me toward the side doors. Mira and Evelyn flanked me like guards. The further we got from the ballroom, the louder the noise seemed to grow. Cheers, outrage, gossip spilling into the night like wildfire. Outside, the air was cold, a sharp contrast to the heat inside. The stars blinked overhead, indifferent to the storm below. I slipped the ring into a pouch at my wrist, not because I doubted its place on my hand, but because I knew Liora would claw for it if she could. "Rachel," Mira said as we reached the car, "you won. Don't let her look steal that from you." I nodded, though my chest still ached with unease. "She'll come back. I can feel it." And I was right. When I reached my car, a folded note waited under the windshield wiper. My stomach dropped even before I opened it. The handwriting was hers, unmistakable, bold, sharp, cruel. "Enjoy the applause while it lasts. Tomorrow I'll remind them who you really are." The words cut colder than the night air. My hand shook as I folded the note back, my reflection trembling in the car window. Liora wasn't defeated. She was cornered. And a cornered sister with pride as sharp as hers was dangerous. I climbed into the car, the ring heavy in my pouch. The cheers from inside still echoed faintly through the doors, but in my heart, I knew the battle had only shifted, not ended. Because the next morning, the headlines would celebrate me, but Liora's vengeance would already be in motion. By morning, my phone was buzzing nonstop. Messages, calls, notifications. My story had broken out of the ballroom and spilled across the town, the county, even further. The headlines screamed from every screen. Sister exposes fraud at gala. Diamond ring belonged to Rachel Hale. Inheritance scandal unfolds in dramatic reveal. Rachel Hale stuns guests with proof against sister. Photos spread like wildfire. Me on stage, binder open in my hands, the engraving proof highlighted. Evelyn stepping forward with her trembling testimony. Mr. Whitmore pointing to the ring. And most damning of all, Leora's face twisted in fury as she screamed. Mira arrived at my house before noon, carrying 2 cups of coffee and a grin. "Rachel, you're everywhere. People are calling you the sister who stood tall, the one who turned humiliation into truth. Do you realize? You've become a symbol." Her words made my chest tighten. A symbol. I had been invisible for so long, quiet, overlooked, the shadow beside my sister. Now people saw me. But not all the voices were kind. As I scrolled through the flood of commentary, I saw the other side. Anonymous posts spread doubt. Rachel ambushed her grieving sister for attention. It's cruel to expose family like that in public. Maybe the mother really meant it for Liora, and Rachel just twisted it. For every cheer there was suspicion. For every truth a lie. And then at noon sharp, Liora struck. A polished video appeared online, her image flawless, her tone dripping with sorrow. She sat in a sunlit room, her gown muted, her voice soft. "I never wanted this," she began, eyes shimmering with false tears. "Our mother's memory deserves dignity. Rachel turned her funeral gift into a circus. She humiliated me, her own sister, just to feel important." She paused, lowering her gaze. "Mother gave me the ring in private, trusting me to honor her. Rachel was always fragile, always desperate for validation. I love her, but she's broken. I only hope she finds peace instead of destroying our family legacy." The comments poured in. Some called her manipulative, but others bought every word. Poor Liora. Rachel must be jealous. Who airs family drama like this? By evening, my phone buzzed again. Evelyn's voice shook through the speaker. "She's poisoning people, Rachel. If you don't respond, she'll twist it until the truth feels like a lie." But Daniel's advice echoed in my mind. Don't fight noise with noise. Let the proof stand. Still, my hands trembled as I tucked the ring back into its pouch. Proof mattered, yes. But Liora had always been skilled at performance. And now she was turning strangers into her audience. That night, exhaustion pulled at me. I drifted toward sleep, until my phone lit up once more. A message. A photo. It showed me leaving Daniel's office earlier that week, the binder in my arms, his hand briefly resting on my shoulder. The caption beneath it, posted from an anonymous account, read, "Looks like Rachel has found a new man to help her steal what isn't hers." My blood ran cold, because Liora wasn't just attacking my claim to the ring anymore. She was attacking my character, my allies, and every piece of support I had left. Liora's smear campaign burned bright, but like all fires built on lies, it sputtered fast. For a few days, her video gathered sympathy, comments dripping with pity for the poor, misunderstood sister betrayed by me. But the louder she cried, the more people started looking closer. And the closer they looked, the more her story unraveled. Daniel filed everything formally in court. The will, the engraving, the fraudulent appraisal slip, Whitmore's sworn statement, Evelyn's testimony. Piece by piece, our case was unshakable. And when the hearing came, the judge's verdict cut through her performance like a blade. The diamond ring, the judge declared, is the legal and rightful property of Rachel Hale. This court finds that attempts to sell it under false pretenses and present fraudulent claims of ownership were acts of deceit. Case closed. The gavel struck, final and sharp. I looked across the courtroom. Liora sat stiff, her crimson lipstick smeared, her hands twisting in her lap. She had no spotlight here, no audience to charm. For once, she was just another woman caught in her own lies. When I walked outside, cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. But this time I didn't shrink. I lifted my hand, the diamond ring gleaming in the sunlight, its engraving glinting faintly. Not as a jewel but as proof, etched in gold, unerasable. Mira hugged me, whispering, "She can't touch you now." Evelyn, wiping her eyes, added, "Mother would be proud. You carried her truth to the end." And Daniel, steady as always, simply said, "Justice is done." As for Liora, she left the courthouse through the side entrance, head down, trailed by reporters demanding answers she no longer had. Her empire of charm had collapsed. The friends who once praised her now avoided her. And though I knew she would never admit it, her defeat was complete. That night I opened my journal for the last time. I wrote the words slowly, carefully. She stole. She mocked. She tried to erase me. But in the end, the truth erased her. This was my revenge, and it was enough. And now I turn to you. If you've ever been mocked, belittled, or told you were nothing, remember this. Betrayal does not decide your worth. Lies do not last. When you hold to truth, when you gather courage, when you refuse to be silenced, you win. Not through rage, not through chaos, but through proof, patience, and resolve. My name is Rachel. My sister thought she could laugh away my mother's promise, that she could shine brighter than me forever. But tonight, the ring sits where it belongs, and her laughter has turned to silence. This was my story. If it gave you strength, stay with me. Here, betrayal always finds its answer. Here, liars collapse under their own weight. And here, revenge is not reckless. It is lawful, deliberate, and unforgettable. Subscribe and return for the next story, because there will always be another tale of justice served.